everybody? It's your man, DJ Caveman. We back again for another Saturday conversation, roundtable discussion, number 3. We got a nice group of folks that came on today to join us for the discussion. As we're about a week away from the election, give or take, right? November 3rd, so maybe like a week and a half.
Yep.
We decided that we would want to have, some conversation on elections and the importance of elections and, the types of things we'd like to see happen. What the hell? It's fucking dog. But we'll just go around and introduce ourselves. I'll start, as always, I'm DJ Caveman, co-host of the Saturday Conversation, as well as the Porch Podcast with the world famous Tom DiNucci, new member of the United States Postal Service, writer, actor, DJ, gigolo, well, ex-gigolo.
Hey, gigolos need love too.
Newly engaged. My baby bought me a ring, so I wear that shit. She put a ring on it. But basically I'm here, what I'm saying? Like, I like to keep this conversation going. We said early on that we weren't just gonna have the one round table. And I always invite people, and some people respond.
Do necklaces, beads, custom made. I do spa accessories, so I have sugar scrubs, milk baths. I got shower gels. I got a bunch of other stuff. You can check me out online. But other than that, I'm here as a representative and try to be a voice of the people, because not everybody is, have a microphone in front of them or a megaphone in front of them. And I just try to, voice some of their opinions to me, and I'll say it the way I want to. Fuck it. So moving on to the next person, who do we have here? Are we gonna go with Leslie?
Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie. I live in Austin, Texas, from Detroit. A criminal defense attorney. Most of my career was spent as a prosecutor in both Maryland and Texas. I just left the DA's office in February, a month before COVID hit. But I'm doing okay. I have 2 teenagers, 17 and a 15-year-old. And like I said, we live just north of Austin in a suburb. We live in a very conservative county, Williamson County. Austin is part of Travis County, which is like liberal. I shouldn't put that in quotes. It is liberal, especially compared to where I live. But it's all relative, of course. Let's see. What else? I try to like DJ Iron. Is it Iron Monkey?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I try to engage with people and get people engaged as well. A lot of times I get approached about, criminal justice issues. Obviously, there's a lot going on in this country, and I try to get people engaged and try to keep people informed, share as much information that I can from my expertise. And I've been doing it for a long time. So.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. And next up, we have Miss Leo.
Hey folks, great to be here. Leonela Felix, I go by Leo and I use she, her, hers pronoun. I'm the Democratic nominee for state representative in Pawtucket's District 61. I'm also an immigration attorney and I work in municipal ethics at the city of Providence. So I've been an advocate up at the State House here in Rhode Island for, for several years now, working on issues of criminal justice reform and immigration and economic equality. So it's things that I'm very passionate about, and also now that I'm running for office, part of my platform to try to change here in Rhode Island. So I'm really happy to have this discussion. On a personal note, I'm an avid gamer. I love playing PlayStation, and my favorite game is Call of Duty. So you'll find me on my free time playing that or doing macrame if I want to be nice and calm. So
okay. All right. So moving on.
All right.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about Star Wars. So moving on to Scott. We got Scott in the house. If you introduce yourself.
Guys. My name is Scott Rezendes. I work for the United States Postal Service. Been there just about 2 years now. I come from my other background. I was in retail for 14 years before that. But politics to me is something that I really love and engage myself in. But to the two young ladies that are here, I have nothing but for what you guys do. You know, you criminal defense attorneys. Wow, that's some strong stuff right there. But that's me. I don't do anything for fun but work. I pound the street 17 miles at a time every day. That's all I do.
How many people told you look like Malcolm X?
Whoever's back. What was
Oh,
that?
she wanted to know how many people say you look like Malcolm X.
It broke up.
It's the lighting.
Really?
He looks like a Viking.
I never.
He's just sitting in a dark room.
I look like
It's the shading.
Is it dark?
It's darkish, but you know.
I don't have any lamps in there.
I can
I
see.
guess I could turn my kitchen light on.
No, you're good. You're good. Don't worry. You got the Malcolm X thing going on, my brother. Yeah,
I was gonna
anything, we're
say
brothers
that,
in
you
post.
know. It's a certain
don't
feel
have
and
my-
a certain look.
I can go get my
male
hands in the
workers-
corner over there.
Hey, don't worry about it. Male workers unite. Yeah, I'm here for you, brother. Yeah, so you know, did you want to get started with everything, Daryl?
Yeah, let's kick it off. I appreciate everybody coming on today. Like I said,
Thank you. Yes.
you know, we appreciate your time, especially in the middle of the week, school night for some of us. But I think these are important conversations, especially with the debate happening later on tonight. You know, to have these conversations as often as possible, especially with regards to like where we're at as a country. And you know, the importance of the election. I've been online, if you've seen any of my videos, about just telling people that they got to vote, but not really, you know, vote for who you vote for. Just make sure that your vote is informed, and to make sure that you do the research and your decision is based on facts and not necessarily spin. So, you know, I'd just like to, you know, kind of like kick it off by asking about like how important it is for you guys, this election, how important this election is for y'all, and like what types of things that you're trying to do. Like, I've offered to give rides to anybody who wants to go vote. You know what I mean? There's no excuse. If you can vote, you should vote. And so, because this is an important election for a variety of reasons, but every election is just as important, but this one seems to have a lot more weight on it, just based on the things that have happened in the last year with the virus and the economy and all the other things.
Yes.
So, you know, where do you guys, like, what are you guys doing to kind of like urge people to get in to vote, and how do you feel? What's the importance level of this election in your opinion?
Well, let me say this. First off, I would say that I'm a moderate independent. Just because I'm black, people automatically swear that I'm Democrat and I'm a liberal. No, I'm a moderate. You know, there's certain things that I don't think should happen, but in moderation, if anything. Like anything in life should be with moderation. That's basically the way that I live. As an independent, I don't vote along party lines. I vote to see who's actually speaking to the issues and who actually has a plan. Who not somebody that can, you know, entertain me the most or point the fingers the best, but somebody that actually says, look, I made a mistake with something. Now, with me knowing the mistake that I made, I know that my counsel must be people to look at my blind side. It's not all Democrats, it's not all Republican, but it's a mixture of everybody, where inclusion is a big part of my vote, is making sure that everybody is involved in the whole system, because America is a melting pot and we should all come together and make a nice stew. But some way, somehow, people are saying, I don't mess with the potatoes. I don't want this yam. Dumplings, that's not for me. We're all in this together. So for me and my vote is who is looking to work on the big issues together as a team, rather than now starting to say, well, that's Team America A and that's Team America B and that C team, we're not dealing with them. So that is me personally. I would go with Ms. Leo because do you mind if I call you Miss Leo? Oh, okay.
Whatever you
So,
prefer.
and the reason I'm gonna kick it to you is because you actually ran for office and you won your district as the Democrat, and that, so now in November 3rd you're gonna be running up against a Republican. So for you, what is number one your platform, and then with your vote, like what are you trying to get out of people's vote, like what Daryl was saying?
Mhm. So that's a really good question, and I love the way that you frame yours, right? Because it's important. Before I answer your question, it's really important for people to see the person, to see the issues, to see the background. And I think that we get caught up whether we're Republican or Democrats or whatnot, independent or whatnot, rather than what is better as a whole for our community. And I think that through the years, and I would argue, if at all we have had it, we've lost sight of taking care of each other rather than ourselves, right? There's a Spanish word, yoísmo, and it's like, it doesn't have a really translation in English, but it's me, kind of. Like, that's basically what the word is defining, that everything needs to be about me, like, and what I want, rather than what we as a collective should have or deserve. It's the way I will put it better, deserving of just having equitable access to like education or healthcare and so on and so forth. So I think that it is extremely important to look at the person and the issues that they represent, not the party lines. So when I was running for office, when I was running for the primary, I'm still running for office, I should say. I got a general in November. That's what I would tell people. Rhode Island is very democratic, even though our legislator is more conservative. And more like in the line, but in Pawtucket, primarily Democrats. And I would tell them, and if I ran into, I went out for independence as well. And I was like, listen, don't judge me by the party that I'm part of. Judge me for the values that I bring and the platforms that I bring, right? Because some people automatically shut the door, like, I'm not talking to you, you're a Democrat, right? And I ran a lot into people like that. Oh, I'm a Trump supporter, I'm not talking to you. Things like that. So I think that we've lost sight. For me, the platforms that I'm running on, and like I mentioned, is ensuring that we have equitable access to education, in particular investments in our high schools. So a little bit of history in Pawtucket, we have invested a lot of money in our middle school and elementary, not to say that they're not deserving. However, I'm a graduate of Shea High School here in Pawtucket. And when I was in high school, in 2000, I graduated in 2005. When I was in high school, windows didn't open, right? You couldn't plug fans in the walls because the electricity was shut off, right? And then a report has just come out. We're in 2020. And these are issues that they're citing as reasons for now reopening our schools, because again, our schools are falling apart. Why is it that all these years have passed and nothing has been getting done? Like, where is the investments going, right? So I think there needs to be a more equitable lens in terms of distributing funds for that, and not only for education. I think we tend to see our state budget as just this document that happens and magically appears. For me, my platform is looking at the state budget with moral lens and an equitable lens, to make sure that the money that we're investing in our communities, whether it's access to healthcare, which is one of the issues that I'm running on, affordable housing, that those things get funded rather than let me pay. So for me, it's
Yeah.
Nice.
it's making sure that we're investing equitably to help our community. $15 minimum wage.
Yeah,
And so
that's stealing from Peter to pay Paul kind of politics. I never understood, and I never liked it, but people still do it. So with Leslie, with you, what's grabbing your vote? What's grabbing your attention with this election cycle?
Wow. Well, number of things. I am always a big, obviously, I follow the presidential election, but not so much for the president position itself, but I always think about not only the Supreme Court, but federal courts. Is the lighting okay? It just got dark here, just like that. Can you still
No,
see me?
you're good.
Okay.
No, you're good.
We can see.
You know, and that's just one of the things I try to explain to people every time there's a presidential election, because they think, oh, you know, president doesn't really have any impact on me. Well, maybe the president doesn't directly, but what people don't realize behind closed doors is the fact that presidents appoint lifetime federal judges And of course, they appoint lifetime Supreme Court justices. Your federal judges probably have a bigger impact on you because, as we all know, a lot of cases do not reach the Supreme Court. Cases have to go up the chain. They start at the local level, appellate level, federal level, and these federal judges are making a lot of decisions that impact people, and it's across the board. It's civil issues, civil rights, criminal, all of that. So and how I try to, what I'm doing to for this election is I try to talk to a lot of my clients. And not only do I talk to them about their case and what the consequences are for them in making deals with the prosecutor is, I say, look, you know, these issues, there are a lot of legal issues that impact you that you just don't realize. It's really important that you get engaged in the system. It's really important that you vote. It's important that you know who your local elected officials are, your district attorneys, your sheriffs. I said, these are the issues that are impacting you. Obviously, you're a part of the criminal justice system. I'll give an example. I had a client today who was about to plead guilty to assault family violence case. And in the state of Texas, if you have a family violence conviction, even if it's a misdemeanor, you are no longer able to carry a gun. And as you all know, in Texas, gun rights is a huge deal. And he's like, what? I have to lose my firearm? I'm like, yeah. He goes, wow, I did not know that. I was like, yeah, there are major consequences when you make these deals. And I know people don't want to go to jail and all they care about is probation, but there are a lot of consequences when you accept, you know, or take deals. And a lot of people don't know or don't tell you these things. So I try to get them to engage, learn the system, know who's in power on a local level, on a state level, and obviously on the national level. But the judges and the local like law enforcement, that is really, really important to me, and that's what I try to educate people about.
And that's one of those things that I picked up on during some, like actually listen to when the president speaks, because he'll say some things that totally go over people's head. He was gloating at the fact that how he appointed so many federal judges, or that Obama left it open for me, and he was pushing all these federal judges. But the thing that Kamala Harris pointed out is none of them were of color. So now all these people are in this kind of position, and they kind of hold certain beliefs that the president has, which are kind of dangerous for people of color, of any kind of color, outside of the paleness.
Not only did he appoint people, majority white people, they're majority male. And here's what's really key. They're really young. So he didn't appoint heroes or 55-year-olds. He appointed people in their 40s. So they're going to be on the bench for what?
30, 40 years?
25, 30 years.
What do you?
Very conservative people, very conservative judges. And again, you know, we hear about these Supreme Court cases. Supreme Court doesn't hear majority of the cases that happen across this nation. They only hear a select few. I could go on and on about this. I mean, and people are they're very strategic when they pick which cases go before the Supreme Court. But so much has already happened on a you know, in individual states and circuits before these cases even reach the Supreme Court.
Right.
Can I just interject for 1 second?
Yes.
I'll ask a question. When it comes to the Supreme Court, how do you feel what's going on now with him electing or, you know, putting forth a Supreme Court, you know, the nominee now prior to the election? What is your take on that?
I think personally for me is, and I know it has no bearing on it, but it's very hypocritical of the Republicans in terms of what happened with Obama in his last year, right? Like we had
Garland,
exactly. We had an opportunity there.
That was the point that I was trying to make. Like I'm trying to figure out, like, why are they allowing this now, but they won't come to together on a stimulus package.
Because
Which doesn't make-
personally for me, I think that it's and when you, let's say when you were talking about the positions and the people that he's appointed, so for me they have been playing the long game for many years prior to Trump winning.
Yep.
Right.
Oh yes,
The problem is
Oh,
that
the
Democrats,
Maverick, the Maverick.
so the Democrats, and I'll point the finger, right? Because the Democrats have short-term vision. Their short-term vision is now let's defeat Trump or let's do this right now. Whereas the Republicans have done a very fantastic job, and I'll give them the kudos that they deserve, right? For better or for worse. I mean, it screws all of us over, but hey, let me give them the credit anyway, because it was well done, right? They looked over the years. How can they move the needle in terms of being more conservative and doing the issues that they care, moving it the way that they want to? They focused on the courts because again, 40 years to serve on a federal court, it's a very long time and a change in terms of how things happen. Again, more criminalization and so on and so forth. The reason why they're doing this is because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to move the Supreme Court to an even more conservative position, right? Where it's not like, oh, maybe there's a moderate, maybe there's a breaking point, like maybe someone will vote one way or another. Yeah, the justice, I was going to say mayor, the justice Kavanaugh has voted kind of not along party lines, but has switched.
Edwards has been the sneaky guy. Edwards has been kind of the sneaky one.
So the reason why they're not waiting is because of that. It's very strategic and beneficial.
Yes.
But then you also have Biden on the other side, or they're saying that Biden's thinking about adding more justices to the Supreme Court. I mean, either way you look at it,
I see them making that as a big issue. And the thing with the president is he's great at creating distractions to take people's eye off the ball. Like, oh my God, I don't believe he said this. And meanwhile, a lot of other stuff is going on in the background that people
that nobody's paying attention to, because they're paying attention on these big topics that he wants to preach every day about, and it's the same things over and over and over again.
Well, see, that kind of repetitive kind of thing is purpose. He's doing it on purpose, because once you keep associating a certain thing with another thing, now all of a sudden it's hard to separate the two. Because I hate it when he was talking, and I'm not going to repeat what he said, when he was speaking about Mexicans and people from Central America coming up. The thing that wasn't spoken about was the fact that he was taking a lot of funding from those Central American countries that was helping keep their people there. He took their money. So when they were like, well, we got to flee, then he was like, no. Now you have to come to the table and deal with me. And that kind of negotiating style is very hostile, and it creates a lot of villains on the back end. And I don't like that.
And if I can add, no, continue, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, to add to that point in terms of removing funds from Central America, what he also did it was years of support, because again, the gang violence in Central America it's just widespread, right? It's the police, it's the judges, it's the courts, it's the state. So the United States has provided funding for these countries in order to do exactly that, to keep people more stable and protect them. And then you wonder why people were fleeing in numbers, because again, if my daughter, I don't have a daughter, but hypothetically speaking, was going to something sexual violence against her, because that's how they work, right? I work in immigration, so I had a lot of clients from Central America that were fleeing. I had clients who were like, yep, you're my girlfriend now, or you're my boyfriend now, and that's the end. And you can't do anything. That's it. They take your child, and that's it. So it's like, who wouldn't risk it? So I think it's as you said, removing those funding only exacerbated the problem, and then let me shut the door.
But you see, that was the part that wasn't really reported. What were you going to say, Darryl?
No, I was going to say, which brings me to kind of like a segue, I guess. We spend so much time focusing on like the presidential election that we kind of lose the vision on like the local elections, and like those folks end up being on Washington at some point. You know what I mean? You don't just show up and be like, I'm going to run for United States Congress. You have to start on the local levels, and like the importance of voting for your local officials is almost more important because they're the ones who, at the end of the day, get to like pass these policies through, you know, and the president can say, well, I don't like this and I don't like that, and I'm going to veto this. But if we vote the right way to the way that's going to most benefit us as a country, then the president won't be able to do those things.
See a lot of things like that when it comes to making sure you're very mindful of your local government is one thing that hardly anybody, especially people of color, speak about is gerrymandering. The fact that even like the way that they draw the maps so that way they could keep themselves in power is very, very, very weird. And is one of those things that people don't talk about. You know, we're more worried about our paychecks, making sure we got our money, making sure that, you know, our health care is there, making sure that we can keep the lights on, you know, basic little things. But then when it comes to voting and where the true power lies, there's a whole nother curtain that they don't really even teach in schools. And that is one of those things that I'm very fearful of, this new patriotic act thing that he's trying to push. We could probably talk about that a little bit later on, but I did want to get to Scott about his vote. And like, because you work in the postal service, similar to me and Daryl, um, how is your vote now starting to formulate? Because I've one thing with me with Trump, I heard how he was talking bad about Amazon long ago, about
Oh, yeah, he's
how they're skirting, you know, all of this and that. There's certain things that a lot of people don't know about with the postal service, but you as an individual, like, how is this election formulating your vote?
well. This election is formulating my vote mainly towards the reason of Trump trying trying to privatize the postal service, and that's one thing that, you know, as my job is, you know, mine and Daryl's, both being, you know, newer to the postal service, is at jeopardy if he's able, if it has to be an act of Congress for him to actually privatize the postal service, but it could happen. You know, if it leans as it's going now, you know, the way that it's going, because we have now LaJoy, who's one of Trump's friends, you know, who backed him in his first election as our postmaster general.
Postmaster General, yeah.
Already starting to make changes to the postal service. His first week in office, or his first week as the postmaster general, he removed 600 sorting machines.
Wow.
600 sorting machines.
Wow.
So you know, that's why it didn't really affect us up eastwise, but you have Florida, you have Illinois, like Central America, in that area.
Oh, like Texas?
Texas, not so much. It's mainly like Mississippi, Arkansas.
Oh, so
it's kind of like in what we want to say, the Republican belt.
The Rust Belt.
The Rust Belt. There you go. The Rust Belt.
Yeah.
It's mainly in
that.
It wasn't only in all of them. They removed. They were mostly, if they people of color voted, that's the one that they removed. Like,
yes,
they were super.
And that was the strategic play, because really and truly, Republicans have been talking about privatizing not just Medicare. They've been talking about privatizing the postal service for a long time. But you see, the thing that I was saying earlier about the whole Maverick, you know, even before Trump, there was McCain. But in between, when they lost to Obama, they decided that they was going to go with the Hispanic vote. And they was going to push Marco Rubio as the guy because he was young, he was energetic, he was charismatic, and he would get that kind of vote. Exactly. But what happened is Trump was like, look, I'm going to show you something how I can show you could win without their vote. So he went about demonizing all of them and then saying, look, these people know, and then calling up all these other groups, the Proud Boys, making themselves feel proud about themselves, and then they can do anything they want because they know that their guy is gonna, you know, bail them out. Because even during some of his rallies, he was like, "Oh, knock them out. If they arrest you, I'm gonna take care of you." So he's been blowing that dog whistle for a long time. But when it comes back to the Postal Service, they've been trying to do this for a very long time. It's just
so many.
they
there's
just
so
got the
many-
guy to be like, you know what? I don't care if people call me an asshole. I'm getting shit done.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean,
they
he's
like
not-
about him is that he's getting shit done. But it's not
But
really.
he is getting shit done to a degree. He is getting shit done to a degree. You know, I mean, there are things that he's done that have been positive towards the Postal Service. One is getting the trucks on time. You know,
Okay.
because they were making the trucks coming from the plants were making multiple trips per day, you know, in the morning to get, you know, stuff done. Now they're leaving it on scheduled times. And if they don't have the mail, you don't got the mail. So, you know, that's what when that was first happening, yeah, there was some mess ups in the beginning, but now they're actually starting to you know, figure that out. But what we're really worried about come after the election is what major impacts is he going to do. The reason why he stopped everything is because Congress made him stop, made him go back to the changes that were originally accept the trucks, because the trucking was a nightmare period before, and now it's gotten a lot better, but I wouldn't say it's 100%. Nothing's going to be 100%.
Let me ask about the overtime, because the overtime was a big thing that they was pushing as well. Is that
They're
they was
not
cutting a
cutting
lot of
overtime.
overtime? They're
No,
not.
I
Yeah,
can tell you-
because that was one of the things that they was talking about.
It
And
is
then
one
they
thing
went
that
back
they
and
were
then-
talking. That's one thing that was mentioned in his original when
Yes.
the things were leaked from the office or whatever, his office. That was one that was leaked. The only thing that they really cut is mainly management. From what I've seen, as far as postal carriers, no. I mean, this week alone, I've worked every day 10 hours. Our main day is 8. So this week alone, it's not even Friday. It's Thursday. I'm already way over where I should be.
And it's about to be Christmas season, so they can't like the
Well,
fucking
Christmas season's a whole different story. They, you know, there is no the overtime at Christmas. We don't get paid like we would now. There's no what they call V time, which is double time. The V time goes away during the Christmas season.
Still, overtime is overtime, though. When you look at
overtime is overtime, but during the Christmas season, that's expected. You know, and right now.
Yeah, I
go
gotta
ahead.
use up all my vacation time before December because that's our Super Bowl season of shipments. That's when everybody's getting all their shipments in, and that's when we got to be on the scene. So I got to use up, you know, all my vacation time right now. One thing that I wanted to get to, seeing that we're kind of talking about Christmas season. When it comes to economic equality, one thing that they've been talking about as well a lot in the news is that the economy, oh, it's so great. Biden is going to raise your taxes. And one thing I keep asking people, I'm like, yo, you make over $400,000. I don't know what, like, let me in on something. They're like, no, but he's going to raise your taxes. I'm like, no, he might raise your boss's taxes,
Right.
you know, if anything, to help you out.
Your boss's boss, probably. Not even.
Yeah.
Not even the
So
direct boss.
when it comes to economic equality or just the whole economics of things, one thing that I like to point out to people, because I actually listen and I have the conversation with a lot of Republicans and Trump supporters that are, you know, Trump supporters, and, you know, I try to separate Republicans and Trump supporters. Let me just put it that way. So either way, they're like, you're getting more money in your check. I said, no, it's a shell game, because what's happening is yes, you're getting maybe like $20, $30, $40 extra in your check, depending on what tax bracket you're in. Either way, you're getting a little bit more money in your check, every check. But when it comes time for you to file your taxes and get that large tax return that you're used to,
They're big supporters, these companies and corporations. The everyday folk is not the concern for the Republican Party. I'm not, you know, Democratic Party, I think, is a little bit better in terms of at least how they approach it. You know, they're for the people. You know, it really does come down to money, and that to me is the big difference between the two parties, right? We were just talking about, you know, the whole trying to privatize the post office and healthcare. You have to remember, Trump is a businessman. and his whole approach, and a lot of people supported him because they said he's a businessman and it's about business. People forget that we need government. Government should not be run like a business. It just shouldn't.
It's
Because
a democracy.
the government is for the people. It's not for individual or corporations or the money. It's supposed to help the people. So yeah, it is an illusion. I wish people would really wake up and like you said, when you're thinking about paying your light bill or keeping your lights on, $20 is maybe a lot to you, but overall, like you said, in the back end, you're gonna realize that it's not for
It
you.
costs you.
It's
And if
gonna
I can,
Yeah.
if I can bring 2 points real quick, sorry there, if I can bring 2 points real quick. So I want to circle back to that point about people worrying more about their day-to-day than voting. I would argue that that is also purposeful, right? We know that where schools are underfunded. We know that we're underpaid. When you talk about economic inequality, we know that statistically, between white people and black people make about $33,000 less a year than would a white person, right? So when we talk about these things is that's why I never fault someone for not being involved, because in my view, right, it's purposeful that they're making you worry more about whether or not you can pay that light bill, so that your attention cannot be divided into what it cannot be placed on who's running and how to do your research, right? Because a single mom, let's say, of 2 or 3 kids cannot, right? If you're working 2 to 3 jobs and then coming home and being a teacher on top of that because of COVID, and then you also have to do your errands at the house and take care of yourself, with what time? So for me personally, I think it's purposeful. So I'll say that part. And we also forget, in terms of going back, Leslie, to your point, in terms of we forget that we need government. We forget our history, right? The government has played in so many instances that role that we need in terms of fixing things, right? Like we think about when we did the Social Security, right? It was privatized. It sucked. The government stepped in. It's made better. It's not perfect, but it's made better, right? We've done even healthcare. There's many examples of when the government has stepped in into those roles of protecting our communities, protecting just everyday Americans, that have done a better job than these private corporations that have a self-gain, a self-interest. And what it doesn't feel, it is a way of for them to being able to, keep their power, control their power, and minimize those that are involved. One example here locally, right? We were talking about locally, is that in my district, there's 14,000 people, right? But in the primaries, which is only local elections, less than 2,000 people vote. And then when it comes to the general election, right, less than 5,000 people vote.
Wow.
So it's, where are the rest of the people? And I would argue again, yeah, some of them are disillusioned because, as we know, the government has failed many of our communities, right? We talk about, like, mentioning President Obama and the things that he did and didn't do, and historically moving past it, like thinking about the criminalization of Black and brown folks and so on. Our education system is a piece of shit. Like, there's so many examples of people just being fed up and it doesn't really matter who I'm voting for, because again, at the end of the day, they're not taking care of us. So I think there needs to be a shift.
So how do you how do you change that as someone who's running for office, right? And Les, as somebody who works, directly with like government appointed officials, and Scott and I with the post office, and Daoud doing his thing on a private sector level, like how does that change happen? You know what I mean? How do we convince people to run for office that can make those changes? Because there are some people who are like, hey man, you would make a good state representative or a good council person, and they're like, nah, I don't really want to get involved with the politics, because most of these states are run like businesses. If you ask me, Cash Grab Gina is a perfect example of somebody who is only worried about her own bottom line. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do we do as citizens to either run for these offices ourselves, or to urge the people who we know would do a good job You know, how does that person want to be? Just like the kids that it's like you want to have better cops, but then we teach our kids, especially in the Black community, to hate police.
Right.
So we can never have more color in
Yeah.
the police department because our
Right.
kids are always growing up to hate police,
Right.
but they become firefighters every day. So it's
Right.
like, where's that change has to happen like early on, but like, what do we do as citizens to like try to encourage these people or to just stop voting? We can't not vote, right? Because so it's like, where's the line to where we
Yeah,
have to
see,
like, get these people in?
to that point, like a couple of things that people need to understand, like this whole idea that, you know, if you're in public office for X amount of years and look at what you've done, you don't really realize that it's a democracy. All five of us sitting here, counting myself, like all of us sitting here, right? I can't make a decision and be like, screw all of you. You have to do what I say. It doesn't work like that in a democracy. In a business, maybe, but not in a democracy. You have to get a consensus. You have to make your case. Like, hey, Daryl, this might be a good idea. Scott, that might be a good idea. I'm not too sure about that one, Leo. But Leslie, you and Leo, y'all ideas sound alike. Let's work together. That's really how government is supposed to work. When they're supposed to work on big ideas, cure for cancer, you know, making sure that we're educated and everybody's treated equal. So when it comes to the point of what Daryl was saying is how do we get people involved in it, is how do we start to educate them, is like, look, on a simple level, you know, bringing back the old schoolhouse rock, you know, and just teaching people how a bill works, little things like that, you know, introduce it to children so that way now they're in the mind. But dirty politics always turns people off to. It actually turns some people on, but it turns a lot of people off
That's
to it.
Most of
that's
us.
why a lot of people. That's why a lot of people shy away from politics because of all the dirty politics that have been around for the last, so
Forever.
long.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, but that goes back to Daryl's point about the police, right? You know, you think the police are bad, so you don't ever think to join the police. That's a very good question. It's really, how do you get people to, well, number one, get people to care, right? And then for those who do care, how do you instill hope in them? Because that's really what it is. People lack hope, right?
When
Um,
when you come, oops, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I have a friend of mine actually, Brandon Potter. He's actually running for state rep.
Mm.
You know him?
I've volunteered for his campaign.
Yeah,
See?
he's a very, very good friend of mine, and it took he was always a person I was never going to run for politics. Never going to run for politics. It's not something he ever wanted to do. Never, ever, ever, ever. He is probably one of the brightest people I know. To when it comes to certain legal and politics and stuff like that. He finally came out and actually ran. He won his primary. Now we're gonna see if he actually wins his the general.
Please
November 3rd?
support make calls for Brandon because he's in a really, really tight race.
Oh, he's a really, really tight race.
He can definitely win. He just needs people to support him. So if you have friends that like to politics, sorry, I'm just gonna do a plug. I know nobody asked me. If you know people that want to volunteer, hey, everybody that's watching, look at me right now. Please support them. Please support your local candidates. I think what I'll say, I was taking notes, so I'm sorry if I look away. I just like taking notes so I don't forget things. I want to circle in terms of getting involved. Your question is very good, Daryl, right? And the analogy to the police department, even better. First-time candidates cannot run without support, right? It takes money, it takes time. So I'll give you my personal example, right? I never wanted to run for office. I thought about it, but I am someone who's been involved in the criminal justice system. I had a criminal record, right? I come from a mixed status family. My father was undocumented. My mom was documented, and all the host of issues, right? I have family members who've been deported, right? I have just a whole host of things. So I was like, because I don't want this coming out, or I don't want that coming out, or just, I hate the limelight. I'm a very shy person. I'm social, but I'm more introverted personally. So it's very difficult, right? Like even the idea. And then I got involved in advocacy and saw how fucked up our state is. And I was like, forget it, I'm running, I'm doing it. But I was able to run because I partnered with an organization called the Working Families Party. And I don't know if you guys have heard from them, but I'll give a little bit of background. They're a progressive organization that started in New York. Now they're in several states, and they actually ran and supported AOC and other candidates that have actually won for Congress. And their platform is very simple, or their idea is very simple. We're going to create a third party option that actually of candidates who are actually for working families. That means it doesn't matter what issue you support, right? It's not like they tell you you have to support X and Y issue, right? But we have an idea. I want $15 minimum wage because we know at minimum that's what people need, right? We need good jobs. That means what? Like the Green New Deal, right? That will bring you jobs, things like that that support working families, decriminalization, X, Y, and Z. So organizations like that, in my case, right? And in case of anyone else that they run, what they do is that they not only provide the training for you, but they provide the strategic planning, emotional support, resources, and connections. So for me, for example, right, I work full time, and I would get out at work at 4:30. By 5, there were people at my house, and they were like, "All right, get ready. 5:30, we're out the door." If you leave it to me, I'm sitting on my couch and playing Call of Duty. Like, I'm not getting up. I'm freaking tired. Give me a beer, like something. But they were like, "You said you were gonna run. You need to put in the work." Fundraising. I don't know how to make a call and ask you to donate $20 to my campaign, but they taught me how to do that because it takes money. I ran the primary. It takes in Rhode Island $21,000 just to be able to run in a primary. Never mind the general. And again, in Rhode Island is easier, I will argue, because once you're in the primary is more important than the general. So how do we get people involved? I think one, the piece of education is extremely important in terms of at an early age, starting that conversation of what's important. We need a robust civic engagement in our schools. In here in Rhode Island, the Providence Student Union actually sued to be able to say that a good civic education is a right. Although it was voted down because there's no constitutional protection, but the opinion of the judge is really enlightening and calling out our state leaders and saying, if you actually cared about our students, you would do this. So I think that's another one. So supporting first-time candidates, and also and that's personally getting involved, making calls, knocking on doors. Another thing that I would say, and going to the analogy, and sorry I'm taking so much time, the analogy in terms of police department is that if you look also in certain places, I'll give Providence as an example. Back in the day, we had Providence, I work in Providence, so Providence had a residency requirement for police department, right? A certain percentage had to be people that resided in Providence. We know that Providence is a minority majority city. Therefore, more people of color were in the police department at that time. Then they decided that they argued at the state legislature that they don't need, at the city, that they don't need this. They were going to renegotiate the contract, and they were like, "Oh, what's the harm?" Now, fast forward, most of our police in Providence are white, because they don't live in the city. Most of them don't live in the city. So again, there's policies that we can implement at the local level. That's why it's so important to have your local leaders that you can actually benefit the community, not only in education, again, but the police department and so on and so forth.
Yeah, see.
Go ahead.
Oh no, what I was gonna say too is like getting people involved is letting them know some of the issues. Like even when it comes to a larger stage, again, I like to listen and I watch every kind of news so that way I get different perspectives. But back in 2016, they was on a large scale, the president was talking about stop and frisk. I'm from New York. I got stopped and frisked a couple of times and I hated it on multiple levels because number one, I wasn't doing anything. Number two, it makes me look like a criminal because all the people walking by see me getting roughed up by the cops.
You're not a friend of Giuliani, is what you're telling me?
He did a good job cleaning up Times Square, but outside of that, I'm not gonna give him nothing more than that. But you see, even when it came to the other third thing that messed up too, is like, all right, the cops roughed me up, they let me go. The people on the block doing shit, was seeing how I'm interacting with the cops, and then just let me go like nothing's up. So now people are throwing a side eye at me. I'm like, yo, so it's so lit, and it was even deemed unconstitutional. You're not supposed to be doing that because even when, I'm a suspect, I could get taken downtown, but a white person could blatantly smell like weed and get off with a warning. So the way that it was prosecuted was different. So when you let people know, look, stop and frisk is out there. If you need to do something because they're about to stop you on the street and they're gonna do something, or they're gonna raise your taxes, or you might lose your health care. When you make it on a personal level, where it's like, all right, well, whoever. Now taking the next step, which Daryl has done, is saying, look, now that we spoke about it and we know about it, and you know that voting is a good idea, I'm going down there right now. Come with me. Don't give them an option. Say
Right,
you're
yeah.
going with me.
Make a
No,
plan.
not, no, don't say, oh, all right, you want to come with me? No, because you're giving them an out to say no.
Yeah.
Say, yo, I'm stopping by, tooting the horn outside. Yo, man, I got neighbors, man. Yo, hurry the fuck up
Bring your neighbors
downstairs, man.
too.
Yeah, hurry the fuck up downstairs so I can stop honking.
I hate to sound corny or whatever, but I mean, it does really come down to the individual, right? We all as individuals collectively can effectuate change, and talk to kids, talk to, your neighbor's kids. If you don't have kids, talk to your cousins. I mean, it's really, really important to just speak up. And I'm a big proponent of getting people engaged. I hate to sound what's the word I'm looking for?
Cliche.
I don't want to sound too like patriarchal, but I do understand that people are tired and they have a lot going on. But I do think that some people are just this is not a priority for them. A lot of people. I mean, I have friends. They're just not. I don't care, or that's your thing, as if it's like my career, but it's like it's life, right? And people are not, to me, a lot of people are just not
See, now
Engaged.
what Leo was saying earlier is that I remember that initiative that was on the ballot, that was up talking about civics. It was also talking about finances too, making sure that those two things were taught in school, because when civics is taught in school, they tell you that it's your civic duty as a citizen to vote. Also to be on, what's that, jury, when they
The
call
jury
you in,
duty.
jury duty. Yeah, these are certain things that are your civic duty. You're supposed to do these things as a citizen, as a good citizen. But because they don't teach these things, it's like, I don't really have to if I don't want to. Like, yo, you're a citizen of the United States, right?
We have to learn to think outside of ourselves. People call me all the time. Hey, I'm gonna be I'm summoned for jury duty. How do I get off? I'm like, I'm the last person to ask that question.
I figured you got the inside.
I mean, and I break it down to people. It's like, you all want to protest and get mad when the grand jury doesn't indict a cop, but guess what? You're the one who wouldn't sit on that jury. You're the one who got out of jury. So if you want to see justice, you need to be a part of justice.
Yes.
Quit.
And see, and that's where it has to start, at the school level.
I mean, and I to kind of generalize, people have different priorities. You got some people who are really invested in the PTA, and then you have some people. I'm guilty of this. I don't want anything to do with the school, PTA. But then I can't.
That's most parents,
right? It's the same thing. But I talk to my kids. They get tired of me talking to them, but I talk to them all the time. I make them watch the debates. I let them know that this is going to impact you. You may not understand it today, but you will realize it. You mentioned AOC. I love AOC. I don't know if you guys realize what she did 2 nights ago.
The Twitch?
She was, I didn't even know what that was. My kids had to explain that to me. But she is reaching out to people. She's speaking their language. And she's doing it on a grassroots level. And that's how she won. Nobody expected her to beat Jim Crowley. It was like unbelievable. I mean, who is she and where did she come from and how old is she? And I mean, it's gonna take people like her. And you're right. It was a grassroots level. Organizations came in and supported her, and it wasn't just her. It was you guys see that documentary on Netflix about it?
Oh God, yes, it was so good. Knock the house.
Yes,
knock the house down.
Yeah, it was just it was
so
exciting.
good.
It's very exciting to see people get involved and try and not just give up and say, there's nothing I can do. So
and you know what too, like really on a small level, even being a part of the PTA is something simple. It's a smaller form of government in a sense, because you have to have a note taker, you have to have a secretary, you have to have certain people. But again, it's on a smaller scale. It's a democracy.
Yeah, and think about what they can impact too, like, right?
And
like,
it's actually affecting your kids in school.
What's the difference between doing tennis or doing basketball? What's the demographic of your school? Which one
I want Salisbury steak back on the menu. I want Salisbury steak. That could be your platform. That could be your platform.
My kids are rushing me because they know the debate is about to start. They're like,
yes. But so to wrap up real quick, then to tie up, earlier I gave y'all a heads up on the pie in the sky things that you guys would like to see. Something that is lighthearted, something optimistic for the future that you would like to see. Who's gonna start?
Scott.
Let's start.
Yeah, Scott.
Scott. Yes. Throw it to Scott.
I like to see both sides of the aisle actually come together eventually down the road. To see the two of them to come together at versus this back and forth. You did this and you did that, and it's just a bunch of nonsense. On one particular, there's the Heroes Act. It's something that's very special to the Postal Service for the most part. Trying to save us from going basically bankrupt. It's been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk since May. And
he's playing politics.
He still won't look at it. Yeah, he's playing politics. That's why I just want both sides of the aisles to come together, come to an agreement, and with anything, doesn't matter.
Alrighty, Leslie.
At this point.
Ooh, I was hoping to go last. I'm actually hoping to see Biden win, not because I'm a huge Biden fan, but because I am hoping somehow. I hope he's. I don't wish him any ill but we all know how old he is. It would be nice to see African American woman get that White House seat.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm just hoping that he'll say, you know what, guys, thank you for electing me, but I really don't have it in me anymore. So
pass it on.
You know how many heads will explode? More heads will explode than on the boys. Like, yo.
That's my dream. If he just kept it real, then you know what? I mean, I shouldn't even be driving, let alone running the country at this age. Take it over, Kamala. Wouldn't that be awesome?
A real Trojan horse. Wow.
It's an early conspiracy theory of mine is that he's gonna get in and do like a year, half, then he's gonna get sick. And he's gonna be like, what? I'm gonna go sit on my ranch and you go ahead and handle this. And backdoor presidency real quick.
That would be awesome. And it would be a nice little vindication for Anita Hill, right? I mean, he owes us. Biden owes us.
Wow.
I'm giving this some thought. Yeah.
Ooh, man, that was from way downtown.
Wow. You don't forget.
That was a Curry. Okay, that was a Curry three right there. That was from the
logo. So Leo, what would be your pie in the sky idea or something you would like to see?
My pie in the sky, I'm really motivated by the youth that have come out and have been so engaged in political campaigns locally and nationally. Right here in Rhode Island, we've had groups of young people forming organizations just to be able to support local candidates, and even trying to build like local local committees, district committees, in order to support platforms and support candidates, help people run for office at all levels. And I really, really do hope my pie in the sky would be that this continues and it has a ripple effect, right? Talking about, again, that people are not engaged, but that they give people, other folks that are not engaged, that motivation and that passion of saying, hey, you know what? Government works for the people, is for the people. Let me get involved in one way, shape, or form and convince the next person to run for office or run for PTO or whatever other position.
Yeah, Salisbury steak. Nah,
Hashtag
I was good.
Salisbury steak.
Yeah, I could have just ended with that one. No, but ultimately, like my pie in the sky thing is that we finally embrace technology and start actually getting the flying cars that we've been promised, and a lot of the things that we like, Wakanda in a sense, where we just put all of that foolishness aside, like Scott was saying, what Leah was saying in regards to education and on a grassroots level, like teaching kids STEM, so that way now they're into robotics and the wave of the future. Because embracing, coal is not really the way, but trying to be ahead of technology, not the Matrix, but viable technology, not AI, but technology in regards to clean energy,
Yeah.
renewable energy. So that way, you know, our footprint on this planet is good and it actually prolongs the life of the planet. And I
Mhm.
don't want something to happen like what happened if you're in the comic books, what happened in The Watchmen,
Mm-hmm.
to force us to come together for this fake hoax of or whatever you want to call it, but this one threat where we need to come together. I hope we get it together before that has to happen. So that's my pie in the sky.
That's what's up. Yo, I mean, personally, for me, as the soon-to-be stepdad of an engineer, it's really good to see that kids are still going into engineering. But also as a card-carrying member of the NEED organization, which is a energy education development program focused on like school-age kids. I'd like to see programs like that and 4-H and you know those programs need more funding. And they continuously get their funding cut for more weapons and shit like that. So maybe just generally seeing the world like focus a little bit more on the youth and the education in the world. And also we're one of the few countries who have the ability to have a zero carbon footprint. However, we refuse to do so. Iceland has done it with less than half the resource, so there's no reason why we shouldn't have a zero carbon footprint. But
Iceland also has a every single one of their vehicles, garbage to buses to everything is all electric.
They have zero.
That's
They
what I'm
have zero,
talking
they have
about.
zero footprint, and we have the capability to do it, and we just won't. But I like to thank everybody for coming on.
Yes.
Real quick, if you have anything you want to shamelessly self-promote, now's the time to do it.
Daddy Darius Designs. I got a new podcast, music podcast coming out. When it comes to my podcast, like I show range, so I have jazz, I have gospel, I have reggae, I have a lot of R&B. I just finished a rap one. I'm gonna do another rap one, but then also I have some stuff for the Caucasian folks too. So I'm gonna work on volume 2 of Vanilla Sky Drive,
Wait a minute,
and that
Caucasians love jazz and R&B and
Yeah.
yeah, but you know what? Like a lot of times when I do jazz and R&B, I try to keep it
okay.
true. So like Vanilla Sky Drive is for the blue eye soul. So you get your Timberlakes, you get your
Yeah.
your Bobby Caldwells, you get your different people.
Michael
So
McDonald.
Michael McDonald, there you go. Cindy Lauper and the whole likes.
Leo,
But no,
anything you want to push besides
Yeah,
vote for me?
vote. If you're in Pawtucket, vote for me. But
yes.
also, please, that like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of local candidates who are facing really tough races. So please donate to their campaign. Please volunteer. Something like phone bank, as easy as phone bank, and you do it at home, and they give you all the training. Please consider doing something like that. Feel free to reach out, and if you want to support my campaign, you can go to leonelafelix.com.
All right, we'll post it on the site.
Scott.
Nothing to promote.
Scott would like everybody. Scott and myself would like everybody to come off. What is that? just get your paper bill sent in the mail. It's called job security. If you're on
Job
paperless,
security.
if you're on paperless, I need every. Go ahead.
Stop doing the auto draft.
Yeah,
Whatever you call
fuck
it.
that paperless shit. Get
Buy
off
stamps.
paperless.
Buy stamps.
You're not.
Oh yeah,
Buy
Buy
stamps.
stamps. Yes.
Stamps.
Send all your packages to the United States Postal Service. It's much
Mm.
better financially for your pocket,
Mm,
and
Yes.
it's job
And
security.
Leave cookies out for your mailman. Leave cookies out for your mailman.
yes.
And thank
They're the real
postal
Santa
workers.
Claus.
Also, keep your dogs inside between 8 a.m. or tie them up so they can't fucking chase us down the block.
Nah. That's why I got a dog, B.
We will spray the shit out of your dog.
I will. I will not.
Thank you everybody for coming on once
You
again.
got
Thank
anything
you.
you got to promote before we
Oh, no.
got it?
Oh,
I have nothing to promote. Just nothing to sell.
for Biden.
Yeah.
Word. Thank you all for coming on. Make sure you check us out on all the social medias, guys who are watching. We appreciate y'all. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. We appreciate you all coming on, especially my big cuz, because she looks like me except with dreads.
Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. Nice to meet you guys. Good luck, Leo.
You as well.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, guys.
Good luck,
Thank you all.
everyone.
We out.
Bless.